Hello and welcome to Emma's ESL English. So as I mentioned yesterday, I had loads of questions over the last couple of weeks about the Queen and royalty and British feelings about royalty and so many things. So I wanted to take some time today to go over the key things that you might be curious about. So I'm going to cover the changes that are going to happen in terms of money and stuff. The changes in terms of job titles of the royalty, and also some of the other things that we might expect will be different for our new king. Most of this you can Google, find out for yourself. So if you're really super curious, go Google, be happy with Googling. But these are hopefully gonna answer some of your main highlight questions. So first of all, things that will change in the UK. Flags. We have flags everywhere. We're not quite as obsessed with flags as the Americans are, but we still have flags everywhere. And we have a lot of rules about flags, especially at official buildings like police stations and fire stations, and of course the Queen's homes and all royal homes as well. So a lot of our flags have got E and then a 2 and then R on them, which is Elizabeth II, and the royal kind of name for her. That's also on post boxes. So any of the flags that have that on them will be changed. Also, we have what's called a royal standard, which is a special flag that's flown when the Queen is somewhere, when she goes to a place, and that has 4 corners on it. At the moment, Wales is not on that flag. Seems like a rather major oversight, and probably really upsets the Welsh because it's kind of not cool. And with Charles being Prince of Wales for like his whole life, and really says that Wales holds a special place in his heart, it's very possible that he might decide to take this moment to change that flag and put something on there about Wales. We don't know. It's up to him. It's his choice. So we have to wait and see what happens with that. So key things that are going to change in terms of structural, obvious stuff. Stamps, money are the big ones. So right now, let me show you. Right now, this is our British stamp with the Queen's head on it. Does that work? That's kind of not very clear. With the Queen's head on it. And so now this has to change to Charles's head. And the same with our money. It turns out that actually we didn't always have the Queen's head on the notes, the British notes. That happened in 1960. So maybe he's going to say he doesn't want to be on there, but I think that's unlikely. So probably we have to change all of our notes. This is one of the new £10 notes, which is made of plastic. And it has, this one I think has Jane Austen on the back. Am I right? Is that Jane Austen? I feel like that's Jane Austen. So these have not been around for a long time. These are pretty new. So these are all going to have to change. They have a watermark on there. Can you see that? So there's a lot. These are really complicated notes. So these are all going to have to change. We can continue to use them until the new tender is brought in, and it may be that they decide to just take them out as time goes by, or it may be that there is a point of time when we have to go to the bank and hand them in and get them changed. But they are talking about it being about 2 years for this all to sort of kick in. In terms of coins, let me show you some of our British. I love coins, I have to say. From traveling around the world to different places, I've collected money everywhere I've gone because I just think it's super interesting. So these are some of our British coins. We have a lot. We really love change in the UK. It's a nightmare. So this is our 5 pence. And what you'll see is that the Queen's head changes. So what's happened is this is a £2 coin. This is a pretty new coin. We didn't have this when I was a kid. What happened is as she got older, the choice of picture used on the coins changed. So this one is 1996 and you can kind of see she looks a little bit younger on there. It is possible to find old coins where the Queen looks very sprightly and young, but most of the coins these days are obviously her older self. So all of these coins that have the Queen's head on them are going to have to change to Charles's head, but that's a £1 coin. On the back, it's got the thistle of Scotland. These all have their own different things on the backs. And the other thing is around the world, in the Commonwealth, there are some places in the Commonwealth that have the Queen's head on stamps and coins and money in different places. So they now have to decide if they want to continue to keep that or not. We're going to come back to the Commonwealth in a second, but this is a coin from Canada. This is a dollar from Canada. They have the loon on the back of that one. I love Canadian coins. They have animals on all of the coins. This is $2 from Canada, so you can see the Queen on the front there, and then on the back they have a bear. I have to say I prefer the Canadian coins to our British coins. So all of these are going to change. So that's going to be a really visible, obvious thing. They may also change the post boxes, as I said, with the ER on them, but we do still have some of those with her father's initials on them. So they might decide not to change all of the post boxes and only some of them. We have to wait and see about that. The really big obvious thing that will change is the national anthem. The national anthem, God Save Our Gracious Queen, Long Live Our... That one is now God Save Our Gracious King, Long Live... Like that one. So this is sung at football matches, it's sung at school assemblies, it's sung all over the place. So we've all got to try and remember that we're singing for a king now and not a queen, which might be a little challenging because we've always been singing for a queen. So that's a big one. The royal brand. So there are quite a lot of companies that are approved by the Queen and they get to put a stamp on their stuff. So now that has to change, and they may or may not get to keep that stamp depending on whether Charles has different rules for who gets to be getting the royal stamp, or whether he decides to keep them. It's all up for grabs now. We have to wait and see what happens. So that could be also the Queen had a lot of businesses, royal businesses. All of the brands and logos there will change too. The Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to my Queen, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole thing. That will change everywhere, similar to the national anthem. So that can be as big a place as the Houses of Parliament. Every single MP now needs to pledge allegiance to the new king. And as little as the Cub Scouts and brownies and guides in the country also pledge allegiance to the Queen. And now they need to re-pledge allegiance to the king. So this change will probably, maybe, who knows, the biggest obvious change will be the Commonwealth, but that will depend on each Commonwealth country. So as I said, some of the Commonwealth countries have got the Queen's head on their money and other things. They have to decide if they want to switch that to the King's head, but they also have to decide if they want to switch their allegiance to the King or if they want to become a republic. So several countries have become a republic in relatively recent years, or of course going back quite far through the history. Some countries now have legal requirements for if they want to change who the regent is. So they have to make that decision themselves. So it's possible that a lot of Commonwealth countries will decide to no longer have the king as their regent, but that is an individual decision for them to make, and we have to wait and see what they do with that. A lot of countries, especially in the Caribbean, are probably on the verge of thinking of doing that anyway, so watch this space. In terms of jobs, so Charles was the Prince of Wales. He is now His Majesty, the King of England, and his wife becomes Camilla, Queen Consort. So she's not the Queen, she's just the wife of the King. That is all due to historical things with divorce and a whole bunch of historical things. Let's leave it at that. William, who was the Duke of Cambridge, and of course the next in line to the throne, now he gets an additional title, which used to be the king's title. So the king used to be Duke of Cornwall as well as Prince of Wales. They have a lot of titles, like a lot. I'm just giving you the highlights here. So now William is the Duke of Cornwall and Cambridge and the Prince of Wales. And his wife, Kate, becomes the Duchess of Cornwall and Cambridge and the Princess of Wales, which, as some of you will remember, is the same title that Princess Diana had. So that's probably a little bit difficult for William to deal with. And their children now are the princes and princesses of Wales. Harry and Meghan, of course, they decided not to have their Royal Highness titles, but they continue as Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And their children now are Prince and Princess. Whether they want to stay with that later in their lives, we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. But for now, they are Prince and Princess. The laws around royalty in the UK are super confusing and complicated. In general, the Queen did a lot of things behind closed doors, and she didn't tend to get involved in politics or ever really have an opinion about things. But the laws around that are really quite convoluted and confusing. And how much power the king has. Theoretically, the power goes through Parliament, but we don't know. So he's the new king. He may decide to do things differently. It's very likely he'll continue as his mother did, but we do know that the king has quite different views to his mother, and he has been quite vocal about things in the past. So whether he will continue to stay as we can say in English, tight-lipped as she was, that is not saying anything about what they think about things, or whether he will decide to voice his opinions, we have no idea. That we just have to wait and see what he wants to do. It is very much, we have lived with the Queen for, our whole lives. She had a very particular opinion on what her job was and what her duty was and what it meant to be Queen. But that was her opinion. And so it could be that her son has a different opinion. And we won't know about that until he decides to exercise that opinion. So who knows? The final thing I wanted to let you know, we will have a coronation. There will be a big party. There will be crowns and sparkly things, and it will be a whole bit of drama. But of course, we're in mourning right now, probably. So that's not going to happen for a while. The Queen became Queen in the February and didn't have a coronation until the following, the year after June. So this might be a similar case. It might be 2023 before we have a coronation, and it might be the spring or the summer. We don't have a date for the coronation yet. Charles is king. He signed the proclamation. It's a whole thing. He's officially the king, and he will be doing kingly duties, and he will probably move into Buckingham Palace imminently, very, very soon. But he won't have the whole party yet. He's waiting for the party. So the party, I have no doubt, will be splashed across all of your television screens. There will be no escape from it. So don't worry. You're not going to miss the crowning event. You won't be able to. All right, let's leave it at that. Tomorrow we will be talking about idioms about sunshine, because why not? All right. See you tomorrow. Bye.